Hey guys, Keely Reason here, owner of Love With Adventure, where I blog about the marriage, relationship, intimacy, and marriage, and how you can go deeper with your spouse. Today, I'm talking about resentment in marriage, and when you feel resentful towards your spouse, what are you supposed to do? This is really tough because you may be feeling resentful towards them for things they're doing, and they are completely unaware of it. Originally, I had a reader ask me, how do I deal with my spouse's past sex life? I feel resentment towards this. Like, I didn't have sex before we got married, but they did. And when we have sex, there are times when I start thinking to myself, am I a good enough lover? Am I doing this right? And there's been a bit of resentment built towards that spouse. And that person, they didn't do anything wrong. They haven't cheated on their spouse. They have a past that you have to work with. And obviously, the spouse knows that they are wrong for feeling that way, and they're trying to work through it. And there's going to be plenty of times when you start having resentment towards your spouse for something they're doing. Maybe you guys don't have the same priorities. It's building resentment. Maybe you want to have sex more often than they are. That's building resentment. Maybe you want to go on more dates or do something with them that they're not willing to do. Whatever it is, resentment in marriage can lead to divorce. It's going to break the relationship. You might be able to deal with it for a little bit, but eventually it's going to come to a head. And when it does, it's going to be very confusing for your spouse if you guys haven't been dealing with these problems all along the way. So how do you deal with resentment in marriage? How do you work through those problems, work on it together, and then deal with it? Okay, so my first tip is you have to figure out what the actual resentment is coming from. You may say, well, they aren't having sex with me, and that's the resentment. Okay, what's the real emotion happening here? You feel rejected? That's probably what it is. My needs aren't being met. I really, really want to be intimate with my spouse. I want to connect with them. I don't feel connected to them because we're not having sex. Figure out the core emotion. What's actually happening? If your spouse doesn't want to go on very many dates with you, or maybe your spouse doesn't tell you that they love you enough, or whatever it is, figure out what's the core feeling. Where's the resentment coming from? Because now you can actually address what the real problem is. Hey, when you don't have sex with me, I feel like you don't love me. I feel like when you don't want to take me out on a date, that you don't enjoy my company and that I'm not fun for you, and that you would rather do other things than spend time with me. Really explain to your spouse where you're coming from. Tell your spouse what's going on. Don't let it just sort of like fester on the inside. Really tell them, man, I feel resentful to you because you're not doing these things I want you to do. Don't ever blindside your spouse. Don't ever like bottle it up and then one day spew it all over them, because that's not beneficial to either one of you. The next thing I recommend is forgive your spouse. Not always, but 9 times out of 10, your spouse isn't intentionally trying to hurt you. If you have a loving spouse, and I'm not talking about an abusive spouse here, if you have an abusive spouse, you probably have a kind of a gut feeling that they are not being kind to you and they are not being genuine to you, even if they're not hitting you. But they are abusive with their language, with the way they treat you or whatever. But if you have a spouse that you know loves you, somebody that is bending over backwards for you, taking care of you, doing things for you, then the first thing you need to think to yourself is, they have my best interest in mind. So coming from a person who has my best interest in mind, does it make sense that they would be intentionally trying to hurt me in this way? No. The answer is no. So come at it from that. All right, and then you have to forgive them. Forgive them for doing the things that are hurting you that they don't even know they're doing. And if you tell them and now they know and they're still doing it, you still have to work towards forgiveness. It's so hard to make a change when you don't know you're doing something to hurt another person. Maybe they do understand that what they're doing is hurting you and they did change. Still, forgiveness is essential. It's very hard. Forgiveness takes a long time, and I think we really suck at forgiveness. I think of forgiveness as like an onion. And every single layer of an onion represents a layer of forgiveness. You can forgive and you peel off a layer, but the onion's still there and you're confused. Man, I still have pain. Like I think a lot of times you have to forgive someone over and over and over, even for the same thing, because it's still painful. It still hurts you. Even if they're not actively doing it, Every time you start feeling upset, frustrated, or resentful towards your spouse for the thing that they used to do or did without their knowledge or whatever, peel another layer of that onion back and forgive them. Peel another layer of the onion and forgive them. And the last thing is, I want you to find ways to stop feeling resentful. If you start feeling resentful, I want you to redirect that focus. Redirect it by saying, I'm going to write down things I'm thankful for of my spouse. I'm going to call my spouse on the phone. I'm going to tell them I love them. When you feel resentful, find ways to keep yourself from feeling that way. Flip the script. Negative emotions come in about your spouse, switch them to positive. I'm not saying ignore issues, but I am saying that if you've dealt with the issue, you've worked through it, but you're still feeling resentful over it, this is what you need to do. Flip that script to something that's positive and get rid of those negative emotions. Guys, thanks so much for joining me today. Be sure to sign up for my newsletter, lovehopeadventure.com/newsletter. I'll put the link in the video description, and I'll send you my free Sexy Truth or Dare. I'll talk with you guys later.